The skies over Lysara burned with fire, smoke twisting into the clouds like black snakes. Buildings crumbled under the weight of massive explosions, and the shrill cries of terrified civilians echoed through the streets. The alien city was once a place of peace and beauty. Now it was chaos, panic, and fear. The mercenary fleet had arrived without warning. Hundreds of ships larger than Lysara's orbiting stations, armed with weapons that melted steel and shattered stone. Their motives were simple: plunder, destruction, and domination. But for the aliens on the surface, it was pure horror. Their lives and families were at stake. In the heart of the city, the alien council huddled together, their faces pale and scales trembling. Council leader Varen tapped a series of controls, sending an urgent message across the galaxy. To anyone who can hear this, our planet is under siege. The mercenary fleet has overrun our defenses. Millions are trapped. We beg for rescue. We are Lysara. We seek help. The message crackled through deep space, broadcasted with all available energy, desperate and raw, hoping that some power would answer, hoping that someone would hear. But the galaxy had grown cold. Most of the major powers ignored the message, too afraid of the mercenary fleet's reputation. Many shrugged, saying it was not their problem. Some even laughed, thinking Lysara deserved its fate. Only whispers of sympathy passed through distant systems, and no one acted, leaving Lysara alone in its darkest hour. The Council's hope was fading with every passing second. Their fingers traced trembling controls, their hearts weighed down by despair. Above the city, smoke and fire created a sky of red and orange. The mercenary ships rained destruction from orbit. Plasma beams struck the streets with precision. Alien defenses responded weakly, small fighter squads darting toward the sky only to be torn apart. The sound of engines, explosions, and screaming filled the air. The streets were chaos. Civilians ran blindly through rubble, children clinging to parents, alien soldiers fighting desperately, but the numbers were too great. The mercenary fleet was merciless. On a small ridge outside the city, a human scout ship drifted silently, its sensors scanning the area. Captain Leora and her crew stared at the readings in disbelief. The message from Lysara had reached them by accident, a weak transmission lost in the vastness of space. And yet, the images and data painted a terrifying scene. The aliens were on the brink of annihilation, the mercenaries showing no mercy, the destruction spreading like a virus. The humans exchanged silent looks, understanding the gravity of what they had seen. The decision was not theirs alone, but in that moment, every human heart thumped with a question: could they turn away or should they intervene? Inside the scout ship, screens showed civilians trapped under rubble, alien soldiers firing last desperate shots at enemy fighters, the Council transmitting frantic coordinates, pleading for help. Captain Leora's hand hovered over the console, her mind racing. If we go, we risk detection. We risk starting a war. Yet if we do nothing, millions will die. Her voice barely above a whisper. The crew waited, tension thick as the smoke over Lysara, each second stretching into eternity. The scout ship's AI gave a cold, precise analysis, confirming the scale of the destruction, showing possible outcomes, all bleak except one: direct intervention, back on Lysara. Council leader Varen watched from the command tower as the sky lit up with human-like laser strikes, though they did not know it yet. The humans were making their calculations, their ships silently preparing to enter Lysara's system. The Council's hope flickered for the first time. They had sent messages to the stars. Now perhaps someone had heard. Perhaps salvation was coming. Yet fear remained. For every time hope rose, another explosion shook the city. Another building fell, screams louder than before. The Council's hands trembled on controls, praying for a miracle. On the streets, civilians crouched under wreckage, alien children crying for parents, parents trying to shield them with their own bodies. Soldiers pushed back the mercenaries with makeshift barricades. The odds were against them. The fleet above seeming endless, their ships like mountains in the sky, weapons so powerful that even the strongest defenses failed. Yet a small spark of hope began to shine. Rumors spread of a new fleet approaching, a mysterious human presence detected in nearby space. Whispers of advanced technology, of speed and power beyond imagination. The alien people held their breath, curiosity fighting with fear, waiting to see if help would arrive. Meanwhile, in the human scout ship, Captain Leora made the call. "Admiral Rhea must know," she said, her fingers typing the coordinates into the comm system. The message was urgent, a call to arms, a plea for intervention not for humans but for innocent life. The fleet in orbit was massive. Thousands of warships, their speed, power, and tactics unmatched, hidden until this moment, waiting to decide. The choice would change everything, not just for Lysara but for the galaxy itself. The humans were silent predators, calculating, ready, and about to make their move high above Lysara. Mercenary commanders laughed at the chaos below, unaware of the human fleet forming in the shadows, yet for the first time, some among the aliens noticed strange readings on sensors, blips that did not match any known technology, ships moving in ways impossible to track, weapons primed, but invisible, waiting, and Council Leader Varen's heart leaped, unsure if it was hope or fear. The message had gone out, and for the first time in weeks the aliens dared to dream that salvation might be coming. The desperate plea was not just words, it was a spark, and in the void of space, a new force was stirring. Ready to answer, and in the silence of space, Captain Leora pressed the final command. "Prepare the fleet, we're going in." Every crew member stiffened, knowing what they were about to do could change the balance of power, the galaxy unaware that its fate was about to shift. Lysara's hope hanging on a thread, and from the darkness humanity's fleet began its silent approach, unseen, unstoppable, and ready to turn the galaxy upside down. The galaxy was silent, empty, but for the faint hum of human engines the fleet drifted through the void, invisible like shadows moving between the stars. Hundreds of ships, sleek and black, sensors scanning every corner of Lysara's system, hidden from the eyes of the mercenary armada above the planet. The aliens on the surface could not know what was coming. They only felt the tension in the air, the hope they dared to feel trembling like fragile glass. Every second counting, every heartbeat a drum of fear and anticipation. Captain Leora sat in the command bridge, her eyes scanning the display, every blip of movement tracked with precise calculation. "All ships report status," she said, voice calm but firm. The crew responded in unison, their nerves steady, trained for moments like this. This was not a fight yet, but the calm before the storm. Every man and woman knew their role, their target, their timing. The humans were predators in the shadows, and the mercenaries would never see them coming. Above Lysara, the mercenary fleet patrolled with arrogance, weapons blazing, sensors sweeping, confident that no one would challenge them. They had ruled the Outer Rim for decades, no planet able to resist their attacks. Their communications were filled with laughter, threats, and boasts. "These Lyserans are weak. They cannot hide from us," their leaders said, unaware of the humans approaching, cloaked in the dark, engines masked, weapons silent, waiting, studying, preparing to strike with deadly precision. On the planet, civilians peeked from crumbling shelters, eyes wide at the red sky and streaks of destruction. Soldiers struggled to hold their ground, but suddenly sensors picked up anomalies in orbit, blips that moved unlike any ship they had ever seen. Faster, sharper, almost unreal. The council stared at their monitors, fear mixing with hope. "What is that?" Varen whispered. The human scout ship had relayed initial readings. The aliens had no idea the full fleet was coming. Their desperate plea had reached the right ears, but they could only watch, powerless, as the shadow of salvation moved closer. Humans struck first in silence. A single wave of stealth drones detached from the fleet, moving like knives between the mercenary warships, targeting engines and weapon systems, disabling them without destruction. The mercenary captains screamed. In confusion, alarms blaring. "What is happening?" "Our weapons, they are failing." The drones struck again, each hit precise, surgical, leaving the ships alive but powerless. The aliens below gasped, unable to comprehend the skill, the precision, the sheer audacity of this silent intervention. Captain Leora watched the displays, her eyes cold and sharp. "Prepare, main fleet. Phase 2 begins," she said. Her crew moving with fluid efficiency, shields activated, weapons armed, engines humming. The fleet began to shift, revealing themselves one section at a time. A human, warship here, another there, disappearing and reappearing in impossible positions. The mercenary sensors went wild, unable to track, unable to target. The humans were ghosts in the stars, untouchable and lethal. The first full strike came suddenly, a beam of blue-white light cutting through a mercenary dreadnought, ripping through armor and shields like paper. Explosions blossomed. Fires lit the void. But the humans targeted only weapons and engines, avoiding civilian satellites and transport, ships. The aliens on Lysera stared at the sky, disbelief written across their faces, their prayers for rescue turning into awe. They are saving us," whispered a soldier, eyes wide as another enemy ship lost power and drifted silently into space. The mercenary commanders scrambled, trying to regroup, but humans anticipated every move, flanking, cutting off escape routes, deploying microdrones to jam sensors, beams of energy dancing through space with impossible speed. Each strike planned, calculated, unstoppable. The humans moved like a single mind, coordinated, synchronized, and terrifying in their efficiency. The aliens watching realized this was not just power, it was skill, strategy, and courage combined, qualities the galaxy had underestimated in. Humanity Council leader Varen watched from the command tower, his hands trembling on the console. The city below still burning, but hope had returned, small, fragile, but alive. Transmissions came through the human scout ship, confirming the fleet's approach, their cloaked arrival, the precision strikes, the mercenaries' confusion. "We are saved," he whispered, tears in his eyes. For the first time in weeks, the nightmare above Lysera seemed to shift, the weight of doom easing, replaced with wonder and fear of what humans could do. Back on the human bridge, Captain Leora observed the battle unfolding. "Target remaining capital ships, disable engines, avoid civilians," she said, the fleet responding instantly. Humans were everywhere at once, a blur of motion, striking, disappearing, striking. Again, the mercenary fleet had no idea how to fight them. Their arrogance turned into panic, their confidence shattered. The aliens below could only watch, awestruck and grateful, hope rekindled in hearts that had almost given up. As the fleet approached the inner system, human communications went silent except for one broadcast, sent to every alien vessel in range. "Earth protects life. All who fight innocence will face us." The words echoed across the void, calm, commanding, terrifying in their simplicity. The mercenaries paused, unsure of what to do. The humans did not fire indiscriminately. They offered both warning and salvation. Their presence alone, a force that shook the galaxy. And in the streets of Lysera, civilians and soldiers alike stared at the sky, knowing their salvation had arrived, and in the shadows of space, Captain Leora gave the order. "Full fleet engage, precision strike on remaining threats." Every ship hummed in response, moving as one, silent, unstoppable. The mercenary fleet had never faced an enemy like this. Humans were not just rescuers. They were a storm, hidden in the dark, ready to turn the galaxy upside down. The mercenary fleet had never felt fear before, arrogance flowing through their veins like liquid. Fire, but now confusion replaced their confidence. Their ships faltered, weapons misfired, engines sputtered, and the humans moved like shadows in the stars, striking with precision, disappearing before retaliation could begin. The galaxy had never seen anything like this, and the aliens below. Lysera watched in disbelief as the impossible unfolded above them. Council leader Varen could hardly breathe, his claws gripping the console as he watched a mercenary dreadnought drift lifelessly in orbit. Its engines fried, weapons offline, yet no human ship had been lost, no stray civilian harmed. The humans were surgical, calm and terrifying. Whispers ran through the command tower. How can they do this? Soldiers trembled. Children hid behind rubble, and even the bravest citizens dared not move. their hearts pounding with hope and fear together. The humans were not just rescuers. They were something the galaxy could not understand. On the bridge of the human flagship, Captain Leora's eyes flicked across the monitors showing mercenary ships crippled, drifting helplessly, alarms screaming but with no answers. "Phase 3, she said quietly, her voice steady. "Disable remaining fighters. Clear the skies for civilians." The crew moved as one, each command executed without hesitation. The humans were ghosts and thunder combined, silent and deadly, striking fear into the heart of every mercenary, and awe into the heart of every alien watching above Lysara. The first human strike squadron swept in, targeting small fighter groups that dared to engage. Energy beams tore through the enemy craft, engines exploding, ships tumbling helplessly into the void. The mercenaries tried to counterattack, but their weapons could not track the speed. The humans appeared from impossible angles, vanishing into darkness before shots could hit. It was not just combat. It was a lesson in fear, humility, and respect. The aliens on the streets could only stare, mouths open, hearts racing, realizing the galaxy had underestimated humanity for too long. Down below, alien soldiers rallied, encouraged by the humans' presence, their spirits lifted for the first time in weeks. They fought with renewed courage, guiding civilians to safe zones, blocking streets with barricades, every action timed with the precision strikes from orbit. Explosions above were coordinated with ground maneuvers, humans and aliens working unknowingly together, a symphony of resistance and rescue. Hope rebuilding itself with each pulse of laser fire, each crackle of energy, each mercenary ship disabled. In the mercenary command center, panic ruled. Alarms blared in chaos. The commanders shouted, giving orders that could not be executed. Their fleets were scattered, disabled, and terrified. "What are they?" one cried, looking at the readings, unable to believe the data. Human ships moving faster than thought possible, cloaked and visible in turns, weapons that struck without warning, shields that held against the strongest attacks, strategy that seemed impossible. Every rule of war they knew shattered in seconds, and for the first time the mercenaries felt fear, real fear, deep in their bones. On Lysara, the council and citizens watched as human ships moved into formation, protecting critical infrastructure, guiding civilians, striking only at enemy forces. The aliens whispered to each other, "They are perfect." For they saw not just power but discipline, intelligence, and care. A force that did not kill recklessly, that did not destroy without reason, yet struck with absolute authority. The humans were a storm of justice, and the mercenaries the storm's prey. Captain Leora turned to her communications officer. "Send one message," she said, fingers hovering over the console, her voice calm, commanding. "To every mercenary ship in orbit, cease fire or face total destruction. Earth protects life, and those who threaten it will be erased." The message was simple, chilling, broadcast across the mercenary network, and silence followed for a moment. A quiet tension, as if the galaxy itself held its breath. The mercenaries stared at the display, unsure, calculating, realizing that these humans were not bluffing. Then the humans struck again, targeting engines, weapons, command ships, each hit precise, each explosion calculated, but no civilians were harmed, no buildings destroyed unnecessarily. And below, citizens cheered quietly, tears streaming, children pointing at streaks of blue-white energy tearing through enemy ships, soldiers fighting. With new vigor, hearts pounding with adrenaline, hope rekindled in the ashes of fear. Lysara had been on the brink of extinction, but now it stood on the edge of salvation. The mercenary fleet tried to regroup, but each maneuver was countered. Each attack anticipated. The humans were everywhere at once, appearing from the shadows, vanishing before retaliation. A force so disciplined, so terrifying, the mercenaries began to panic openly. Crews abandoning posts, ships drifting, engines failing, communication systems jammed, their pride shattered, arrogance destroyed. The galaxy watching in silent shock as humanity proved itself in ways no one thought possible. And in orbit, Captain Leora watched the final wave of mercenary fighters approach the planet. her eyes cold and sharp. "This is the final warning," she said, and the fleet advanced as one, lasers, missiles, and drones moving with lethal elegance, ships appearing and disappearing like phantoms, disabling enemy forces without mercy. The humans were not just saving Lysara, they were sending a message, a lesson to the galaxy, a proof that humanity would not be underestimated, a force that could shake stars, rewrite balance, and decide fates below. Council leader. Varen could barely speak, his claws gripping the console, watching the aliens fleeing to safe zones, the mercenary fleet crumbling. Under invisible hands, the city still scarred but hope alive. They came, he whispered, awe in his voice. Humanity came. And the citizens dared to dream again. The nightmare receding, replaced by the first light of salvation. The first shock felt in the mercenary fleet had only begun. The humans were just getting started. The mercenary fleet was in chaos. Alarms blared endlessly, flashing red warnings across every bridge. Captains shouted orders that were impossible to carry out. Ships drifted like wounded animals, engines failing, weapons offline. Crew members scrambled, fumbling with controls, unsure of what to do. Every plan they had ever trained for fell apart in the face of the humans. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. Humanity was not just a threat, it was a storm, precise, relentless, and terrifying. In the command bridge of the flagship, Captain Leora watched her screens. Every ship under her command moved as one. Every strike was coordinated. Every enemy maneuver anticipated. "Deploy intercept drones on the left flank," she commanded, calm and unwavering. Her crew executed flawlessly. The drones moved like knives, slicing through mercenary fighter groups, engines exploding, weapons shredded. The mercenaries panicked further, their formations breaking apart under invisible hands. Below, on Lysara, civilians and soldiers watched, in awe. Fires still burned and smoke covered parts of the city, but hope had returned. Soldiers took courage, guiding citizens to safe zones, blocking streets, preparing for the next wave. The humans above did not just attack, they protected. Energy shields formed over hospitals and schools, guiding civilians through danger zones. Every alien on the planet realized that these humans were not here to conquer. They were here to save. In orbit, the mercenary admirals tried to regroup. One shouted, "Form up! We cannot let them destroy us completely." But their ships refused to obey. Engines misfired, weapons jammed, drones infiltrated their command systems, cutting communications. Panic spread like wildfire, crew members abandoning posts, fear taking over their minds. Their arrogance had turned into terror, their pride shattered, and through it all, the humans moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing, striking with surgical precision. Captain Leora initiated Phase 4. Disable remaining capital ships, target engines first, then weapons, avoid civilian casualties. Her fleet surged forward. Blue-white energy beams tore through enemy dreadnoughts, crippling them without unnecessary destruction. Explosions bloomed across space, each strike calculated, each movement choreographed. The mercenaries had never faced an opponent like this. Their panic grew with every second. Ships spun uncontrollably, drifting helplessly, shields failing, weapons destroyed. Below, Council Leader Varen gripped the console, eyes wide. Soldiers whispered in disbelief. They are unstoppable. Citizens peeked from shelters, pointing at the sky, cheering softly. Humanity's precision strikes had given them courage. The humans were not just fighting, they were teaching, showing the mercenaries the cost of underestimating them. Every alien heart on Lysara felt a mix of fear and awe. The mercenary fleet tried one last desperate tactic. A wave of suicide drones sped toward Lysara's surface. The humans anticipated it instantly. Interceptors launched, meeting the drones, mid-space. Explosions lit the void. Drones shredded before they could reach civilians. The mercenaries realized too late that their desperation only made them weaker. Every reckless act was countered, every bold move anticipated. Humanity had turned the game into something the mercenaries could not understand, something they could not control. On the human flagship, Captain Leora observed every movement. "Prepare the main assault drones. We end this now." Her crew moved like extensions of her will, no hesitation, no mistakes. Drones launched in perfect formation, encircling the remaining mercenary warships. Engines were targeted first, leaving ships powerless. Weapons were destroyed next, ensuring no counterattack. Panic spread across the mercenary fleet like a virus. Every captain realized that their era of dominance was over. Below, Lysara's citizens began to cheer more openly. Soldiers fought with renewed energy, pushing back mercenary ground units wherever they could. Humans above guided every strike, every move. It was more than rescue. It was a display of strategic brilliance. Hope filled the air, replacing fear. The humans had not only entered the fight, they had turned it entirely in favor of the oppressed. Captain Leora initiated the final sequence. "Disable the command ships. Leave no control for the enemy." Human warships glided silently, appearing suddenly in impossible positions, striking key vessels with unerring accuracy. Explosions tore through enemy ships, shaking them apart. The mercenaries tried to flee, but every escape route was blocked. Humans anticipated every move, every maneuver, every desperate attempt at survival. The mercenary fleet, once confident and feared, was crumbling under the invisible hand of humanity. Council leader Varen watched in awe as the remaining mercenary ships began surrendering. Small flags of truce appeared on screens. Pilots abandoned stations. Engines powered down. Weapons went silent. Humanity's presence had turned chaos into order, despair into hope. The galaxy had never witnessed such control, such power, such calculated mercy. Humans were not just warriors, they were guardians, strategists, and saviors all in one. And as the humans held the sky, the mercenaries in full panic, Captain Leora gave the command that would mark the final stage of the battle. "Prepare to secure the planet. All remaining threats neutralized. Protect Lysara at all costs." The fleet moved with deadly precision, surrounding the planet like a protective shield. Below, citizens and soldiers cheered, tears streaming, hearts pounding. Humanity had arrived, the mercenary threat dismantled, and the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Underestimate humans, and you will face their wrath. The mercenary fleet was no more. Silence stretched across the void where their arrogance had once ruled. Broken ships drifted aimlessly, weapons useless, engines dead. The humans hovered above Lysara like guardians, their fleet a wall of discipline and power. Every strike, every maneuver, every drone deployment had been precise. Not a single civilian had been harmed. Not a single human ship lost. Humanity had won without cruelty, yet the galaxy trembled at their capability. On Lysara's surface, civilians emerged from shelters. They saw the humans above shimmering in blue-white energy, their ships impossible to ignore, moving with silent authority. Children ran, pointing at the streaks of light across the sky. Soldiers cheered, their spirits lifted higher than they had ever imagined. The citizens whispered in awe, "They didn't just save us, they showed us what humanity is." Leader Varen stood on the observation deck, claws gripping the railing. He watched the humans in orbit, and for the first time his voice shook, not with fear but with respect. They didn't just fight. They changed everything," he said quietly. His eyes scanned the horizon as the last mercenary command. Ships surrendered, their white flags small and almost insignificant against the immensity of human power. Captain Leora observed from the bridge of her flagship. Her eyes were calm, cold, and calculating. "Prepare the message," she ordered. Her crew immediately activated communications channels, broadcasting across the galaxy. Every surviving mercenary ship received it. Every council, every colony, Every species in nearby systems could hear humanity's words. The message was simple, unwavering, and terrifyingly clear. To all who threaten life, humanity protects life. Earth will not be challenged. Any act of aggression will be met with absolute force. Respect the galaxy, or face extinction. Even the citizens of Lysara felt the weight of those words. Humans had not only defeated the mercenaries, they had delivered a message that would echo across the stars for generations. Fear and respect mixed in every heart. The humans had set a new standard, one that no enemy could ignore. Below, on the streets, alien soldiers guided citizens to safety. Every movement synchronized with human orbital maneuvers. Explosions that had threatened their homes had ceased. The humans had dismantled the mercenary threat without reckless destruction, leaving the planet intact. Citizens cried in relief. Soldiers raised their weapons not to fight, but to salute those who had saved them. Humanity had proven its strength, its intelligence, and its mercy. In orbit, the last of the mercenary commanders surrendered personally. Their ships powered down, weapons deactivated. They sent a message to Captain Leora, pleading for mercy. She read it calmly and replied, "You were warned. Violence has consequences. Learn from this." Then, with a nod to her fleet, she signaled them to maintain orbit, shielding Lysara until the planet's civilians and infrastructure were secure. The alien council assembled to meet their saviors. They had expected fear, perhaps bargaining, but not this: discipline, strategy, and controlled power. Humans did not boast. They did not demand tribute. They offered protection. And in doing so, they reshaped the council's understanding of the galaxy. Humanity was no longer unknown. Humanity was a force. Humanity was to be respected. Captain Leora looked down at Lysara through the viewport. The planet, scarred by fear and war, now breathed hope. Smoke curled gently from controlled fires. Citizens moved carefully through streets. Soldiers stood ready, but they were no longer afraid. Humans had done what no one else could. They had entered a hopeless fight and turned despair into salvation. Then, the humans began their retreat. Their ships glided smoothly, perfectly formed lines moving away from Lysara's orbit. But even in leaving, they did not vanish quietly. They moved in such a way that every species observing could see them. Shadows, among stars, the galaxy would remember this day, not because of destruction, but because of power, discipline, and mercy combined. Council leader Varen turned to his citizens. His voice carried across the halls, shaking, but strong. They came when we had no hope. They saved our lives. They have shown us what humans are capable of. Remember this day, remember Earth, remember humanity. Cheers filled the streets, echoing into the mountains and valleys, carried by the winds of freedom and relief. Far in deep space, other alien fleets who had heard of the humans' arrival faltered. They doubted themselves. They reconsidered their strategies. Humanity had shifted the balance of power, not through reckless violence, but through cunning, precision, and unwavering resolve. Legends of Earth's fleet would spread. Whispers of their skill would ripple through every star system. The galaxy had learned, finally, that humanity was not to be underestimated. Captain Leora closed her eyes briefly, then turned to her crew. "Mission complete. Prepare course for home. The galaxy will remember this day." Her voice carried calm authority, but beneath it was a quiet pride, the pride of a species that had defended not just life, but the idea that humans would never bow to fear, never surrender to arrogance, and would always rise when called upon. And as the fleet disappeared into the stars, leaving Lysara safe, the first real hope the planet had known in decades, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Humanity had not only rescued a world, they had sent a warning, a promise, and a reminder. Underestimating humans was a mistake no one would ever make again. The stars themselves seemed to tremble,